Okay, Emmy fans, the race for Best Drama Series is a real drama this year because no Game of Thrones. The winner of the past 2 years is out, and the three editors of Gold Derby right here have three different predictions. Meet Marcus Dixon, our senior editor, Chris Beachum, our managing editor. I'm Tom O'Neill, the editor-in-chief. Marcus, you first. What's going to win and why?
I have no idea what's going to win.
Well, that's not a good answer.
I just changed about 10 minutes ago. I had The Handmaid's Tale for a long time. I just switched to Westworld. Because Westworld has more nominations than any other show, 22, well, tied with Saturday Night Live, but more than any other drama. And it has those magic nominations of 4 actors. It has writing, it has directing, it has casting, it has editing. So when you take all that together, it's also on HBO, which has won the past 2 years. Game of Thrones won. Since Game of Thrones is out this year, it only makes sense that maybe voters will just want to do a replacement show, and that would be Westworld.
Chris, what's your argument for?
Westworld's a decent pick. I've got Handmaid's Tale. I'm sticking with that for now. I think it overperformed. It's Hulu's first big opportunity at the Emmys, and they put a lot of momentum behind it. The thing that captured me more than anything when I was thinking about predictions, whether you're talking about Oscars, Emmys, Golden Globes, doesn't really matter. All of these voters love literary adaptations.
Okay.
And Handmaid's Tale, based on a very classic novel, I think that may play into its favor here. Got a lot of below the line, as did Westworld. Got in actors that we weren't necessarily predicting. Ann Dowd, Samira Wiley, Elizabeth Moss has a very good shot at winning actress. So that's what I'm thinking right now. Let me just commend the Emmy voters, though, because to put 5 brand new shows out of the 7, that is amazing and not something they typically do. They normally hang on to things forever, which gives you House of Cards.
Will the fact that it's a female-focused show be a detriment? There are very few that have done well here, of course. Is that an issue?
We're going to see. I think the rules are changing continuously, whether it's Oscars or Emmys in the past 2 or 3 years, as rules have changed, as more and more people are being welcomed into these academies. I think things that we all presumed in the past don't necessarily apply
as evidenced by Veep, for example, on the comedy side, winning the past couple of years.
I would also add, I mean, Homeland starred a woman, Claire.
But it was real macho, though, because it was boom, boom, bang, bang.
And then Game of Thrones has no leads, but they have a lot of strong men and a lot of strong women.
4 of our experts say Handmaids will win. 4 say Stranger Things. 3 say This Is Us. This Is Us does not have those key nominations for writing and directing, and that's why we're not advocating it. I'm for Stranger Things, and no one's more surprised than I am, because I resisted this throughout Emmy season, like most people in making predictions at Gold Derby. I was going with The Crown, because The Crown is just perfect. It's elitist, it's British, it's all the things that they love. But Downton Abbey never won Best Drama Series. It won Best Limited Series, and it's very similar there. And I think that it also is just missing a kind of an enthusiastic rallying point that Downton had a strong emotional line that I don't think this has. I'm going for Stranger Things because it won PGA, it won SAG. We know that those early Guild Awards matter a lot here. But on the other hand, it's too young skewing. It's got magic in it, and we know they don't like that. Exceptions are, of course, Lost, having won. Game of Thrones has its dragons. But Stranger Things is the coolest show of all right now. And whereas that normally doesn't translate at the Emmys, both of you agree that it can win, right?
Every show we've mentioned can win. This is what's so awful about what we do, because we have to look at all of the different trends and stuff and try to pick one. But it's really impossible this year to pick one. Look, we're all picking something else. Our other editors are picking other things. Our other experts are picking other things. So I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to probably switch 10 times between now and Emmy night.
Well, Chris, here's something against Handmaids. So we know that editing, winning a nomination is crucial here, and it's not nominated for editing, right? We've got Westworld and their Stranger Things and Better Call Saul. It does have the nominations, all of our shows, for casting. And these corresponding nominations are what you really have to pay attention to when you're making predictions, because they matter. In the case, for example, of editing, 14 out of the past 15 years, the show that won there was nominated, correct?
That's right.
With one exception.
So the one drama series was at least nominated for editing.
Correct, and the one exception was Mad Men in '08.
That could hurt Handmaids. I mean, the thing about series as opposed to all the other races, remember at the Oscars, once it gets to the final balloting, an actor is voting for production design, a cinematographer is voting for sound editing. But here, it's just the branch members, and actors only voting for actors when we get to those races. But series is every branch. So it does matter that you're in editing or casting. I think we'll know. I'm very interested to see the weekend before as creative arts. What wins drama casting?
Right.
Yeah.
Because that is a real telltale sign. I may switch over to whatever the casting branch selects the weekend before when it comes down to my final drama series prediction.
By the way, a great shout out here to Riley Chow, one of our contributing editors who has been running these numbers for us and makes us all smarter, right, Marcus?
Oh yeah, he has an item right now on Gold Derby where he goes through every single of these below the line categories, everything from sound mixing to stunts
and where they mattered if you're
Right.
in the top race for best drama or for best comedy series. What about some of the other nominees in this race? Do they have a prayer?
Well, Better
What
Call
about,
Saul.
well, let's start with This Is Us, because no drama series, no network drama series, no network show has won drama series in a long, long time.
Right, it was 24 in 2006, and there hasn't even been one nominated in the past 5 years, and the last one nominated was The Good Wife. But you know, I was on This Is Us train for a very long time, until nominations came out, and it did not get writing, and it did not get directing, and that was kind of the death knell.
If
for
it
me.
had gotten either one of those, would the two of you be considering it stronger?
Sure.
Yes.
You know, we talk to these people every year, and they don't seem to listen sometimes. Sometimes they do. They put way too many writing and directing on the ballot for This Is Us. If they only hurt themselves there, and we're looking at this too strongly, in other words, if they'd only put the pilot, for example, into writing and directing, and they'd gotten in, would we have changed our tune here?
I remember the year Homeland won. I think only one expert predicted Homeland winning, and that's because we all thought that it would do better in nominations, and when the nominations came out, it didn't get Mandy Patinkin, it didn't get some of those below the line, so we just kind of wrote it off. I wonder if we're doing that for This Is Us. Are we doing that for The Crown? Should we consider these
Let's talk about The Crown, because that was the heavy favorite all along here until nominations came out, and suddenly most of the experts and editors have ditched it.
It still did well, though. It still got where we thought it would get. It just didn't do.
It was the below the lines that hurt them. I thought it would be the most nominated show this year when it came down to below the lines, and it didn't get any acting beyond the expected. It got Claire Foy, John Lithgow, but every other one of these shows pulled somebody in that we weren't expecting, whether it was Ann Dowd and Samira Wiley, whether it was David Harbour, whether it was Anthony Hopkins. So, The Crown only got those two. It didn't get a Vanessa Kirby. It didn't get a Jared Harris. It didn't get a Matt Smith. So it was like it just went under the radar in terms of where all it should have fallen if we were to consider it stronger.
Lastly, Better Call Saul and House of Cards are missing some key nominations that we see as important in order to be able to win, right? Let's wrap up there.
Better Call Saul has a lot of good ones, though. It has the acting, it has writing and directing this year, and editing. So if they're going to go to an older show, I mean, it's down to that or House of Cards. Better Call Saul definitely has the better shot.
And we shouldn't write it often because it hasn't won. We've seen, specifically lately, a kind of delayed reaction. It took Breaking Bad many years to win. It took Game of Thrones till its fifth time to win, right? All right. So we basically don't know. It's up to you. Make your predictions at Gold Derby and tell us what you think.